Recording in progress.
It's
Okay, got
recording.
it. I can deal with that pop-up. That's on the
Yeah. The stress of technology. Isn't that funny? Well, thank you so much for being here. So I'm Sarah from Align with Sarah, and I'm here talking to Liz Jones, and I'm so glad to have her time. She really focuses on daily habits, and today we're going to be talking about things that are surrounding daily habits, what potentially might make them hard, um, what we bring to the event of a daily habit as far as our limiting beliefs and things that are in our subconscious mind. We're going to see what we get into, and I'm already sure that it's going to be super fun and very enlightening. So I have Liz here, and I'm wondering, Liz, can you please introduce yourself and talk about your YouTube channel and your what you do on LinkedIn and how people can find you? And the stage is yours.
Thank you. Well, good morning to you. I was like, I hope you're having a good day. It's a Wednesday. I keep forgetting what day it is, and the dark grey days in the UK. But yes, obviously I'm English, so yeah, I am based in London. So I've been in the fitness wellness space for 13 odd years now plus. So obviously through COVID became a lot invested in LinkedIn, building my network and my connections. But of course, for me, I like to share meditations. I obviously teach yoga, hence the you got to see my elephant.
Oh,
So I've
yes.
been teaching yoga today in person. So I wanted to share that with the wider audience because frankly, we all deserve to live the best life possible. And of course, sometimes we need a little guidance and support. So of course, I focus each week with meditations. And of course, I've got some more yoga stuff coming because obviously that's people want me to share. People I know have asked me to share more on that and things like this. So of course, obviously, I always listen to what people sort of want. But the best advice is the fact it's focused on sort of slowing down to sort of speed up to actually perform better. And that is kind of a controversial sort of thought. It's like, how do I slow down to actually speed up? And of course, we will get more into that. But that is obviously crucial for what we need day to day.
Wonderful. And so you had mentioned your LinkedIn. So how do we find you on LinkedIn?
If you actually type in Liz Jones Wellness, I come up because that was one of the things. But so here's a tip, LinkedIn tip, guys. So if you're on LinkedIn, change your handle so people can actually find you by what you want to be. So if you've got a certain brand, you've got something else. So it normally is it's a number. So it's automatically set to a number. If you go into your settings and change it to be something specific, mine is Liz Jones Wellness. So if Liz Jones Wellness gets typed in, you will find me. Out of all the Liz Joneses in the world, you will find me.
That's
Okay.
wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
a little tip there on how to manage the back of house as well.
I feel like you're a whiz at LinkedIn. You definitely have a lot of tips that you've already shared with me when we had talked a couple weeks ago. And I think it's such an to me it's this like abyss where I feel like I kind of understand Facebook and I just sort of like choose to not do it because it seems too stressful and drama and whatever. Uh, and then LinkedIn, it feels so professional, but I'm just like, I don't understand. These people want to, so but you have it nailed. You have a huge
Yeah.
following there. And yeah, your
Well,
tips and
it,
tricks.
it a lot of it comes because when I first started, I did it because I was like kind of told this was the place to be, kind of, and I got on there. Obviously, when I became a general manager, I kind of went, okay, people connect with me. I never really used up going, I don't know what you're talking to me about. And people say, but you've got this visible. I'm like, no, I haven't. And, I didn't get the platform at all. I just basically stuck a profile up because I thought it was the thing to do. Um, and then, of course, because of COVID hitting, I realized I didn't like Facebook. I again didn't build a great relationship with it. I found it attracted the wrong people. I had people adding me and then suddenly adding my family, like they knew my family. And I was like, this is crossing boundaries. I like to have a little boundaries, and particularly when you work in a people business. And so I moved on to LinkedIn and just started building some good connections. And I was very fortunate to build some really good friends through the platform who are based predominantly US. So again, the stateside base. And obviously different fields. So they run their own business, a lot of entrepreneurs, people who've left business in the corporate world and gone and done their own thing. And some people who've had massive issues with their health and well-being and had to make a change in their lives. So again, people of different ages, all walks of life, different backgrounds. And of course, you sort of support each other, build up, you look at what works, what doesn't. And again, little tips of going, okay, how do I change my brand so people can find me easily? How do I make my profile look better so I look professional? So how do I make it look like it's authentic and it is me? Because that's the thing with social. We can post a stock image, we can post, a picture, but how do people know it's me they're connecting with?
Right.
And that's the thing. Being authentic is part of who I stand for. I don't like when somebody, doesn't feel comfortable. So of course, when we connect on LinkedIn, there's a very generic banner. There's a very, you put your picture up. If you don't populate it, it's like, well, how do I know someone?
Right.
And generally it is our CV in many ways, but we can still be personal. We can still put, I like elephants, hence the elephant, right? So you can still put a bit of color in, you can still add a bit of you in. And that's one thing that's been nice about seeing the platform change is it's not just this regimented sort of world. It is this, quite dynamic, ever changing. It's a great place to network. I know I feel like I'm selling LinkedIn here. Uh, so if you are listening and you do like LinkedIn, I do recommend you sort of get involved, but find a network, find a couple of people to follow and look for the tips. These guys who are sharing LinkedIn tips are sharing them for a reason. So
Right. Right.
yeah, but of course, don't lose you. That is the
Yes.
biggest thing because you can get drowned in that sort of corporate world. You can put on a face because you think that's the way people want you to be. And actually, as soon as I find I'm going that way, I actually come off it for a week or so. And people, I've got an inbox. I'm like, you know what? I'm not run by you. I run my life. And
Hmm.
it's taking that level of ownership to go, hang on a second, you don't control me. I control me. And if I'm going to show up the best and I give my full heart to this, then I've got to be able to feel in the driver's seat.
Yep. Yep. That's the second time that you mentioned boundaries, and I feel like um, it's such an important it plays such an important role in mental health in general, and then the stamina that we have for the day, and then also where where we do have good boundaries, then there's some energy left for us to I love talking about the noticing and then listening and then shifting. And I feel like that's the magic recipe for anything that you want to do with personal development. Just find something and notice it and listen to it and shift if you need to. Um, but when we can kind of make that, I want to even say how it's like a parallel. It's not even a connection. I feel like it's like this 100% like, if we go across and look like, oh, I have a boundary, I have a boundary, don't have a boundary, then there's, this pit of energy loss,
Mhm.
like right down. And then we get back to boundaries and then we have our energy back for us. And when we want to do those things that feel so simple, and I'm going to say that, simple does not mean easy. We want to make those simple changes. I want to start journaling. I want to start drinking more water. I want to get to bed at an earlier time. I think one super critical piece is the boundary thing. And it's, again, so simple. Simple does not mean easy. And with boundaries, I think it's one of those things that gets for me, I guess I'm talking about my own personal experience. It gets so complicated because the responsibility load that I have. And then, my work gets into the emotional baggage, the what lenses am I seeing this through? If I'm seeing this through, these lenses of abandonment, then my responsibility level, has this emotion behind it where I'm not letting anyone else in. So like I have my boundary in the wrong place. So I feel like there is I feel like there's a lot to it. So what do you think?
Yeah.
How do you think the boundaries tie into the just
Well, as you said, to start with, huge player because you need boundaries because otherwise, people who are going to drain you will drain you. People who go, well, you've not replied to me. Well, hang on a second, I wasn't on my phone. I was with a client. I'm not connected. Like, if someone texts me now, I could be like, well, hang on a second, I've just got to text my phone.
yep, yep,
I'm not in this moment. I'm not invested. I'm picking up my phone. I'm distracted. And often we get in such a world, it's like we're actually so distracted because we don't give ourselves the focus. And our boundaries help us to focus on what's important. So, as you said, simple doesn't mean easy, because change isn't easy. It's like if we're saying simple thing, like we'll take, I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. Okay, we'll go, okay, we're going to make sure we go to bed at 10. Some nights we do it, some nights we don't. We're just going to make that our boundary and say, right, 10 o'clock is our shut off. But what people don't think is what it takes to put that in their day. They go, that's my boundary. But then yet they're suddenly taking their phone to bed. Then suddenly they're still working till 9:30, then having a shower, then doing everything else. And it's like, okay, you've set a boundary, but you haven't given yourself realistic expectations. And of course, that's when we can start shifting to everybody else, because we're not
Right,
being realistic with ourselves,
right,
you know.
right.
Or maybe the boundary is something you haven't connected with. You haven't really got into what your boundary is. Is it going to bed at 10 o'clock? Or is it, I'm going to get a great night's sleep. I need to get 7 to 8 hours every night, because otherwise I know I feel like crap the next day. Excuse the term, but I'm not feeling my best. That's what it needs. I have to do that. Then you get more into a why, not just a thing that you're doing.
Mhm. Yep. And then I think boundaries, that's another, this highlight that you just were talking about. The boundaries, I feel like when we are not invested in our own path, that blame game, when that shows up, of course, there's, all the other factors, you're talking about staying focused and like my dog's over here whining and I'm just like, like the whole distractions. And yeah, I feel like sometimes he's this, high maintenance, special needs animal that, if I shut my door, he's going to be whining at the door. He's going to be, scratching at the
Yeah.
door. Uh, if I let him in here, he's going to, probably be over here like, poking me and have his head on my lap. So there's this, um, in my mind, the way that it works as far as like, okay, well, I want to be able to be as focused as I can. I can't control if, I'm going to get a package or a delivery or somebody's walking a dog, outside the house. But I can control, like, I could take him for a walk. I can take him outside. I can give him some exercise. I can give him his like little toy to play with. And, like in my mind, I kind of like go backwards in time with like, well, what can I do at, we have to meet here at 10:30. What can I do at
Yeah.
10:15? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I actually need to do that at 10 o'clock. And then, if we are going to go outside and go for a walk, then we need to do that at like 9:30 because I have to do this other thing. I think that there's a lot of accountability
Mhm.
that needs to happen. And I think the scapegoat for accountability is just blaming, like, well, he's just special needs and he's a handful and, you know, he's a dog. He has
Thing is,
needs,
when we're not doing the best that we can and we're knowing that something's not worked out, the easiest thing is to blame or look for excuses. This is why when we often don't do something, I mean, I did it. I had a yoga workshop in October, and I knew I was busy with him in my new part-time role, and I knew I was really, really busy, and I got to it. First thing I did, I went, well, it's because I hadn't marketed. But I also know, and I sat there and went, hang on a second, that's the reason why, because you've not really been out engaging, you've not done what it needs to make this, booked and people come. But why didn't you do it? You really could have done this a couple of weeks ago. And then it's kind of that really honest point, because yeah, it was my excuse. It was actually the reason, because how can you get somebody to do something if you haven't told them? But then I sat down and went, no, because when you were busy, you didn't make it a priority. You just went, I'll just do it later. Because you knew if you got to that point and it hadn't worked, you could have the excuse. And it's that kind of vulnerability with yourself to say, hang on a second, I'm going to own this. The reason I've not done this is not because of the excuse. It's because I knew that it would give me the excuse and I could make myself feel better,
Mm.
if that makes sense. And we often look for times not to be vulnerable. And sometimes we get to say, like I said, I know this stuff. And even still, I know 2 months ago, I did it to myself. And I had to sit there and go, okay, why didn't you do that? What was it that you were thinking? And I was like, and I looked at this stuff and I actually sort like did that sort of self-reflecting and took a moment and just went, You wanted to protect yourself. You wanted to make it easy so it felt good. You felt good because no one came. Not the fact you're trying to start something new and it didn't work. It's the fact is it makes it easier emotionally. You sort of protecting yourself because we don't like change. Neither do we like to fail. Neither do we like to get things wrong. So we can do something in our own minds that gives us the level of protection. Then of course that's what we're going to do. So it's that sort of, as you said, limiting beliefs and stuff. We can set ourselves in with those sort of actions, and we can start finding the excuses why we're not doing something to begin with. But then it's because we know in our subconscious mind we're going, okay, I know if this doesn't work, I've still got some reason to lean back on.
Mm-hmm.
It's which is much easier.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of stuff that takes over, and we're in those moments and we're making those decisions from our subconscious mind. Sometimes it takes till, 2 months later when the event is here and it's like, oh geez, where, okay, well, you know what? I think I was trying to keep myself small. I think this was, a step forward. I think this was whatever. And I believe that that is the same energy as, you know, I get this bonus check from work, and then, the next day there's a car issue, and it just magically is, the bonus check was 600, this car issue is 600, and I'm right back to my comfort zone, which is not high functioning zone. It's just like, I know how to have the financial struggle. I know how to feel like, it comes in and it comes right out. I know, the threshold of just enough. And I think that there is, I think it does take a little bit of a reach and an open mind to think of those things. But when it can be so empowering to think, I'm manifesting every moment of my life, and I'm manifesting my comfort zone. I'm manifesting the issue.
Yeah.
I could also manifest the magic.
It's also your tolerance. It's the fact is automatically you get a bonus, and we automatically it's the either, oh yeah, I got the bonus, sort of excited like it's something new. But if we go, oh yeah, of course, got a bonus, and have a little bit more of that sort of knowing, that sort of empowered, it's like, okay, and say the car happens, you just go, okay, but I'm not supposed to be out of pocket. There's a difference in that energy, in that focus to go, no, I don't accept this. This is not
Right,
going to cost me that much. The final
right.
price is going to be less. And next thing you get that nice surprise, it's going to cost you less or something like this. But it
Yep.
is very much what you put out and how you sort of the reflection you take for it, because things get thrown away. Like, do we tolerate having a credit card? Do we tolerate, just making ends meet every month? Or do we sit there and go, actually, no, something good's going to happen, and having that nice little surprise of, it might just be 10p cheaper when you get to the till, or 10 cents or something. It might only be a small thing, but you have to go, thank you.
Right.
Because guess what? That's money back in your pocket.
Yes. I love that you used that phrase, I don't accept this, because I think it is such a great alternative to many people's instincts where here's my new paid, here's my bonus check, my 600,
Yeah.
and I can't believe this. And that, like, it makes my spine straighten. And I want to say, you're saying you're like creating this divide with those words. I can't believe this. Instead of saying,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for this, or uh, recognizing, saying, I can't believe this, is saying, I don't accept this. And
Yeah.
when we do have a choice of, you know,
Uh-huh.
what if, this comes and this is, I can't believe it's so much more than I thought it would be. Well, you know what? Wait, time out. I just heard what I said. I completely accept this money into my life, and,
Mm.
it's bringing me forward into a place I've never been. I
Well,
believe that I'm worth that.
the line I normally take on, say, for someone like that, say you go, oh, I can't believe this. I go, no, stop. Thank you so much. Or even just say,
Yes.
like, because I got obviously not huge, but but I got a little bonus. I got the phone call and say, here you go, you're contracted. Here's your little bonus. I was like, really? I went, you know what? Thank you so much. That's really nice. It's nice to be appreciated. Although kind of, I already, it's really weird. I kind of knew I was going to get a bonus. I didn't think it'd be like huge and it was, but I already knew something was coming. And but it's that sort of, really? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
And it's that sort of, so even as you said, catching yourself, sometimes people feel, and I noticed when I started doing this, I felt really uncomfortable to say, I can't believe I've got that, to go, oh my God, of course I can't, or being overly the other way. So that's why I kind of just went, okay, no, stop. Thank you. And just had that sort of stop, because I was like going, no, 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 let's train my brain, retrain my thoughts, and of course how I'm feeling towards it, and go, no, 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 we're not going down that line. Stop that. No. End.
Yep.
And of course, then I give it a positive. So sometimes it is an affirmation because it's something different. But if it's like the money and you're just getting that, it's just like, okay, thank you so much. This is great. This is amazing.
Yep. Yep. And then I think it's also, yeah, there's wisdom in what is that reaction? There's wisdom in paying attention to those first words out of our mouth. And like you said, you just, oh, hold on. I just heard myself. Now it's
Yeah.
time, that noticing, listening, and shifting. Okay, time to shift. And now I make it a point to say it like 3 or 4 times and to come back to it, because the negative thing, the limiting thing is there in myself, in my subconscious. And I want to try to be louder than that with my conscious mind. I want to be trying to get something on board. And that is a daily habit. And I feel like if we're going to be changing, that
Mhm.
response thing of, something comes in, and
Mhm.
what is our reaction to that? What is our response? It tends to be, it can be, I should say. I mean, in my mind, I see with the goggles of emotions, but I feel like there is an emotion tied to it, and identifying all of those factors helps create this opportunity of the new daily habit where we can be thankful for the
Yeah.
coffee machine working. We can be thankful for waking up and feeling great. We can be thankful for, the dog behaving for the half hour that I need to be, focused on something else. Where we can recognize those things that we just are maybe even taking advantage of, and we're not celebrating. So that I believe that universal energy is hearing us to say, oh, this is what Sarah wants. So
Yeah.
let's give her more of that.
And that's the thing. It's also because if we look at our thoughts, we have like about 95% of thoughts we had yesterday. Roughly around 85% of them are negative. Okay. And a lot of that is from training and things like this, because something could happen to us as young as 3 years old. Then something adds on to it and something adds on. And these little things just slowly build up to this as we talk about beliefs. So obviously this will take us nicely into beliefs actually. But this is how we form beliefs. And also, of course, our limiting beliefs are formed exactly the same way. But what people don't give credit is suddenly you've got, say it took you 10 years to learn something. It's going to take you time to get back. It doesn't happen overnight. So a lot of times when we sit there and think, okay, I don't feel any different. Initially, you might not. And that's okay. It's to give yourself the patience to go, okay, but you know what? I'm working on it. I'm spending today and I'm going to be 1% better today, 2% better. I'm just going to improve on how I feel right now.
Mhm.
And then just as you build a wall, a house, you put a brick on a brick on a brick, and it slowly comes up, because a lot of our limiting beliefs, we've had a trauma as a child, we've had something happen to us. Then of course maybe it's a relationship as we're becoming a teenager, young adult, then it suddenly adds to that trauma, but everything just adds to it. So when we start forming these belief patterns and changing behaviors, like you were talking about with changing words and retraining our brain, we need to be back and obviously giving out to the universe, but the universe gives us what we are. So if we're holding inside these fears in our subconscious, we're just trying to sort of cover them. We need to constantly stay consistent. And that's why daily habits are even more important, because it's not what you do just the one day or 2 days. It's not just what you do for 10 minutes in the morning. Do you catch yourself in the afternoon when you're in the store? Do you catch yourself when maybe having a night out and somebody's bumped into you, spilt your drink or something? It's catching yourself in those moments so that you're constantly saying to the universe, no, 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 this is not who I am. This is who I am. I shine, I sparkle. We want to sparkle. Let's sparkle.
Yes, I think it's great. Um, so you mentioned your yoga,
Uh-huh.
and while you were doing that, I reached over on my bookshelf, and grabbed this book, which I think it's from what, the 80s, the 90s, something like that. I feel like it's been around for a while. The Body Keeps the Score,
Uh-huh.
which is, um, I think it, uh, maybe I'm wrong with this, but it was presented to me as this hardcore research that went into retraining or releasing the trauma,
Mm.
but recognizing that it's not just in the mind, it's also in the body, and it's also in that thing in between, which I call the spirit. Uh, the the Basel van Basel von, I can't say it, Vanderkolk. He calls it the brain, the mind, and the body.
Mm.
Uh, Thinking is definitely separate than just the mind, in my opinion, I guess. And I love I love when people have the approach of there's the doing and there's the being. And I think um, people can get lost in one or the other, where I think a lot of people, and this was the big critique with the movie and the book, The Secret, where there's a lot of focus on, I'm going to write my check for $1 million and I'm going to just walk around with it. And then $1 million is just going to show up, where there's the being with that, but then there's also the doing.
Mm.
And I believe that there's something in between. And I think when we're being with it and we're doing the thing, I think the middle thing kind of fills in the gaps. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that concept.
Well, let's put it into this term. So obviously, a term that we use a lot, I use a lot, is that your body is your vessel. Okay, so ultimately, so we can look at it in sort of the physical sense. So our body has got a heart, lungs, it needs exercise for, functions and how it operates. All right. So we can look at it in terms of that kind of thing. However, we have the mind and the body. And I call it mind, body, and heart because it's that sort of feelings, thoughts, that's sort of something else that comes within. So I call it I put it down for the three. But we do have that physical element. But the thing is, if we're cramming all these thoughts in, they can still get sticky and sticky and stuck. That makes more sense. But like that's where like Chinese medicine comes in, like with the Meridian lines and how our energy systems work. Our body is basically a whole system of energy. Now, if we sort of just sit around and we can sit there all day going, I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm doing, or whatever it is that you want. I've got this great relationship, I live in an amazing house, but you're not taking any action, then of course you're coming up with a problem. So I think the split is sort of 80% sort of thoughts and feelings, the other 20% the actions that you're taking. So like if you're saying I want to be rich, you've got to be willing to do something. Are you in the physically best state to receive that? Are you doing something every day to be able to bring that into your life? Okay. If you want to lose weight, you can't just sit on the sofa going, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose weight. You need to be able to move the body and keep your energy flowing smoothly. Because as well, what you can find is so here's a meditation practice, if you've not done this, is sensing where your energy is sitting or where it's blocked. So you might have a trauma from the past and it may be sitting in your shoulder or your neck and shoulder. It may be sitting in your elbow. And you can sense it. And the mind works in symbolism. So if you start seeing it as trying to see like yourself in a picture, it's not a symbol. If you see, I mean, I'm personally, I go for like a dark cloud or a white cloud because we imagine lines, if we're lying on the ground and we're in Shavasana at the end of our practice, and you can sort of imagine lying on the ground on a sunny day and watching the clouds floating. It's like, the big fluffy ones, and
Mhm.
you're looking for shapes, and it's kind of fun. If you've never done that and you're watching this, I recommend you do this. But So if I say, like, when you exhale, like even like your breath on a cold winter's day, okay? So as we're breathing and we've got, if we know we're carrying weight, imagine seeing that as a dark cloud. So the sort of weight is going, because then what that's telling your mind is to let go of whatever energy is holding in the physical body. So it is that there's a massive connection between the two, and people think it's one or the other. If you just train your body, I did it for like years, and I can tell you, I used to be British team and all this. I trained my body so much, my mind was out the game. And of course, when it came down to it at the World Championships, the reason I lost, I wasn't beaten. I may have been beaten in the end if I was in the right space, but the reason I actually lost that fight was because my head had given up. My body was just on autopilot. My body couldn't do anything because my brain had just gone like so blinkered vision, it was shut down. I may have been beaten in the end. It may have gone the other way, but in that time and that moment, I actually lost that fight. And I know that was why, because my brain. When we look at peak performance, we need to be moving our body. So we need to be training the body to do what we need it to do. So that's why we need exercise. We need to walk, we need to maintain a healthy system, but we also need to train the brain. And that includes the activeness for the brain. So giving the brain a workout, crosswords, jigsaw puzzles, arts and crafts, whatever it is for you, as well as then that debunk. So journaling, meditation, the sort of, which allows the quietness. So the other part of the brain, or the feelings, to come through, because that's when your intuition starts to speak. So when we're the quietest, we hear the loudest.
What is that a Rumi quote where he taught that the hardest things that we arrive in at life are mended by the softest approach that we can come to. And I think the there needs to be softening of the body and softening of the mind and softening of the heart or the spirit or the brain, whatever we want to call it. Just find something and make it softer. And you had mentioned like the shoulder pain, and I think that hardening, what's that term, body armor that is placed on, and that recognizes that it's guarding something. It recognizes that hardness. It recognizing that there's something vulnerable underneath. I'm definitely like a shoulder pain person, and I'm very conscious of how sensitive it is, and gets almost like exhausting to be like, okay, well, what now? What now? I wake up and it's like, it's sore, or the end of the day, I'm doing all kinds of stuff that I need to be doing through the day. And I recognize that it's a demand for the body. So how do I soften that? I do like the opposite. I'll hang my arm, to loosen it with a little bit of a stretching. I have even like a little like hot pad, like sticky thing on it
Yeah.
right now because I woke up and it's pretty grumpy. And
With the mind. Use
yeah,
meditation.
and I was doing my chronic pain meditation. I have like my go-to one that uh it's the Mindful Movement YouTube channel, and there's like this like little like piano that plays in the
Yeah.
beginning, and as soon as it plays I'm like in the zone,
Yeah.
where it could be the wrong video, but like as soon as I hear that I'm just like I'm in the zone. And she walks through the right in the beginning about how chronic pain is trying to tell us something,
Yeah.
and it's how we listen to it, it's what we apply to it. So
A slightly different way to do that, which again, because there's so many slightly different ways, and I've obviously been playing around with different ones. And yesterday morning, for example, I did a Paul McKenna hypnotic one, and I was like, I woke up going, that was really cool, really different, because I had one voice in one ear and he was saying something different in the other, which was very different because talking to different sides of my brain. And again, it was that sort of very different experience. But one thing that I've done relatively recently about sort of healing and sort of clearing the body, as obviously going into meditative state, so still a little bit active, because obviously you're asking your spirit, you're asking your higher self to come and help you. So you're asking your inner voice tell me where I'm holding it, asking yourself and your first thoughts, wherever comes up, trusting that and go, okay, I see it. I see that darkness. I use the shoulder because I've had problems, and then going, okay. And then actually sort of then seeing it in the mind sort of being pulled away from the body and eased. Um, but again, it is a different experience. And of course, it's about finding what works for you. You okay?
Yeah, I am okay. Just one second. I have that like tickle in my throat.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm gonna introduce something for you to talk about and I'll be right back. One second. And continuing with that, like you need to know what you
Mhm.
I'm
What
losing my
you
voice here.
personally need in your body.
What you personally need, yes. I'm gonna mute myself.
uh, so on that one, so obviously assessing what you need, of course there is the physical, spiritual and the mental. So I mean, I've talked about this in doing in terms of meditation, but say for example, so on Sunday I will go to the gym and I will do my leg workout, so I'll lift some heavy weights and do the weight training. I then come home. I tend to do meditation first thing anyway, but then I come home, maybe do some foam rollering or lying on the roller, easing out. But one thing, if I go back to that, is the yin and the yang. So even if we always talk about doing, which is very yang, it's very like, let's go, let's do. So you need that, just like you need the softness. So for example, we take, say, a shoulder injury. I mean, I sometimes massage with my massage ball and ease it off, use it against the wall, and all this. Sometimes I put heat on. Sometimes it's just a case of actually just need to lie on the floor and just stretch and allow my mind to release. So, I mean, I use a phrase simple, just let go. So I breathing, let, exhale, go, and release. My client uses, which he finds works, is out or release out of my mind now, or similar words. And he uses it all on the exhale. And I go, okay, but I feel with that, I feel more rush. But then that's a personal thing. Again, it's about choosing, if you're using a mantra or focus for the brain, do you see that? But then I've got more into the symbolism, and I've actually found that's working so much better for me in seeing like where do I see the darkness? Where do I sense it? And actually, where I thought it was one time, it was somewhere else.
Right, right.
And I was like, okay, you're telling me that. But it's also trusting, because we don't trust. And it's like, for example, you get in a relationship, you start, or let's take the dating world now. Okay. We're going to go off on a
Oh
tangent.
boy.
Let's get on the dating world. Okay, so you go into the dating world, you get on an app, and it's like, okay, you go on one, maybe two dates, and you're like, you send them a text, and they've not replied, or send her a text, maybe the other way around. Oh, oh, is he going to reply? And you get this sort of self-conscious, this limiting belief. Is it I've been replaced? And you start getting this need to sort of hold on, right? When actually, what we need to do is go, I just trust it. It's fine. I've got no reason to believe that you are like, say, my ex-boyfriend or my friend's ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're like my sister. I've got no reason to believe you're that way. So you know what? I'm going to trust you. What you've told me is the truth in this moment. Tomorrow, it may be different. And I use that as a thing because a lot of us, especially the tech world, we get used to this sort of thing. That's the same with everything. Can I trust myself? Oh, this has come up. My body's saying it needs a stretch here, and I didn't think I was stiff there.
Right.
Trust it.
Yes. The I have this written down on my sticky notes here and in my other office. And the breakdown of the word of confidence is with faith. And I think when I start to feel iffy, I start to feel like um, where I'm reaching out, I'm asking to I was just involved with I can't remember the name of the organization, but they do this like summit of like 300 presenters once a year, and they put out this like magazine and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's way out of my comfort zone. Like I want to be over with the chickens. I want to be doing my firewood. And there's this strong focus on, how you present yourself, and like there's a huge marketing thing. And um, I was staring at my sticky note, and I was saying, I found this on purpose. Like this found me, and I found it. I was reaching a little bit, and this showed up. I need, with faith, I have to show up with faith. And it was interesting because it was like that same, like you're talking about the dating app, but I sent my thing, and there's something that says, within 24 hours you'll hear from us, and it's like 2, 3 days, and I'm like, and it's really
Yeah.
just like, nope, here's my sticky note with faith there. Just have faith. And I did end up, I went through the process. I made the first couple like cuts of like, these many people applied, and then we have the initial
Yeah.
thing, and then the last lady that was like the person that decides, she had given me, she was like, I'm really on the fence. I don't really know. And I'm like looking at my note, and she's like, your eye contact is not so great. And I'm like looking at my note, and I'm like, have confidence, have confidence. And she said, I'm just gonna say no, we're not gonna move forward. And it was a disappointment
Mm,
for sure. But I learned so much in that
mhm,
process. And a lot of it was the trusting part, and a lot of it was helping me arrive with like that new thinking pattern, and creating that habit of like, you got to just let that go, Sarah. Just, I could start making excuses for anybody, but I'm just letting it all go. I'm not
uh-huh,
telling any story other than I am, I approached with faith, and I'm going to continue with my faith that this is exactly where I need to be.
mhm,
And the her feedback also was about this, I want to say, kind of like she was saying that I don't put out the vibe of like I'm ready to be seen yet. And
mhm,
it was so painfully honest. And but I never would admit that to myself, where
yeah,
uh it led me in this growth that really changed everything. And then that's when I started reaching out to other YouTubers and people that have small YouTube channels. And yep. And my helper was like, oh, you're this Liz Jones. And I was like, oh my God, did you see her following on LinkedIn? I don't know. And I we were having our conversation before. It was like super late for you. And I'm just thinking, there's no way this lady is gonna wanna like talk to me because whatever this. And then I was like, let it go. Just let it go. Just have some faith, and you're either gonna learn something that's gonna continue, help you go forward, um, or it's gonna be a yes, and you're gonna learn something and move forward. And I think it's important to reach. And I think for me, in this last year, I actually have this like visual of like I'm reaching, and like there's something reaching back to me.
mhm.
And whatever happens after that is going to be something that teaches me, that helps me, that leads me somewhere else.
But I had this, I've had loads of situations like that. But like this summer, like the reason I got a part-time job, so I'm predominantly self-employed, so anyone who's listening, I am mainly self-employed, but I got to the point in the summer, I was like, I've had a few clients leave. So I've had one past couple of years, I've had one pass away, I've had, things move on, and I was like, okay, so I can get extra work to cover, say, the holidays when my clients are off. No problem. I can teach a yoga class for someone. I can teach, and all this. But I was like, no, I want to be a bit more settled. So I put out that I wanted 3 days a week, something that gives me a little flexibility, all this sort of stuff, gave my minimum hours and, all this sort of stuff. And I went, okay, how long do I want this job? And I was like, okay, ideally something in 12, like say in 12 months, I could either grow with it or I could leave it without feeling upset. So I was like, okay, so I've got my turn. Applied for this local job, and they said, yeah, he's happy to be flexibility. Went up to the place. Everybody was super nice, really local like place. But as soon as I stepped into the place, I went, this isn't for me.
Hmm.
I hadn't even had the interview, I hadn't actually met the person. And I stepped to the place, I went, no. My gut instinct was I could do this job, I could be here, but no, this isn't, you know. And the funny thing is, the other job that I did get is the fact that the agency had called me when I got this one lined up. So before I'd even had that interview. And I was just chatting, and I'm at the leisure centre, the alarm went off, and I'm on the phone to the agent and all this. I went, this is kind of why, because, you know, there's sometimes I have a couple of hours where I'm sitting between a class to another class and I'm waiting, and I want to maximize my time. So it becomes, because my time is precious. And I want to be able to show it fully, not jumping on things at last minute. I don't want, you know, I want to be able to just slow down for a moment. Anyway, the job I got, as soon as I got the interview, I went, well, that's my job. And then someone said, right. And I said, well, and I tell them at the interview, they'll tell me no. If they tell me no, okay, whatever. Because I didn't apply for it in the first place. They found me. So I completely detached. But I went, yeah, but it's my job. And so I went, have you been prepared? I went, well, I read a bit about the company, but my job's a new job for them. It's my job.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, of course, I got the job. I got offered the job, you know, everything like this. Exactly what I wanted. 1 day in office, 2 day remote, flexible hour, you know, and all this great tea. So again, tick the box. But of course, a month later, one of my things on my board is obviously more speaking and things. I've got sort of goals around sort of speaking and presenting, because a few years ago I was really, really nervous on video. And if you see a video where my mate got cut off and I'm on my own, I'm like, and guys, and yes, I can see comments, but I can't do anything. It's hilarious. It's so funny. But a month into my new job, I presented to the global team, you know, and all this. And one of the new guys, I said, well, I'm not from a corporate background, I'm from a leisure background. He went, I would never have guessed, because I dressed and showed up every single day. Like that, you know, my motto, I shared this on my LinkedIn today. What am I wearing today? What would you not wear to the gym? And that's what I wear. I mean, so I'm not, you know, it's not saying I'm selling a suit because it's not that dress code. It's, you know, casual. What would I not wear into the gym, whether I was working or for workout? And there's your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, I've detached one from the other, for the old sort of habits. If we talk about habits, things that come up, you know, we go back into things that are comfortable, particularly if we have clients cancel or leave us, we can go where's comfortable. But I stepped into the uncomfortable and went, okay, I've never worked at a large corporate. And now I'm working on a huge global company. You know, okay, I'm a contractor. I've got a 12-month contract, roughly. Again, say the time period came, and I dress up and people go, I wouldn't guess you weren't from this sort of background. And I've done 13 odd years in gyms and leisure centers. So it's a case of, sometimes when we talk about the confidence to show up, it is that sort of, like you said earlier, what the universe gives, you know, if I put out the message, it's a case of, can I detach from this? Do I know this is right for me? But also going, if you go into a place and you go, my instinct's saying no, I didn't know why that job wasn't good for me. The other job, right. I was like, it's local and all this. But I knew the minute I got to the door, I was like, this isn't for me.
Yep.
I was like, I've not even got in there. This isn't my place.
Yep.
And the closer I got, the worse it felt.
Yeah. And I think that awareness is so valuable. And I think sometimes we can fight it because we want to tell the story and like, this is here and this is my opportunity. But when we listen and really process like how it feels, there's something going on there. And like, you know, there's something better. There's something that is a better fit. And I think that's the perfect example of the being and the doing. You know, I showed up, but I've been with this long enough that I know how I want to be feeling. And this is not how I want to be feeling already. Like in the first 5 minutes that I'm here, I think it's super valuable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Liz, we covered so much stuff.
We've talked for nearly an hour.
I know. I was going to say it's an hour later. So I think let's wrap this up if that sounds good to you. And I'm so thankful for your time. I feel like we talked forever before. I think we planned it for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it was also this marathon thing. So just to review about how people can find you and your YouTube channel and everything, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, well, if you want to find me on YouTube, it is Liz Jones MBH. So that's Mike Bravo Hotel, because that's Mind Body House. I do share at least one, if not two, weekly meditations, ideally under 50. I'm usually under 10 minutes. So if you want that short reset, that's kind of what it's there for. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, Liz Jones Wellness. But of course, the stuff I share, this is why one thing I probably should add, I've mentioned a corporate brand, not said who they are, and that's for a reason, is because I'm me, these are my thoughts, I'm not promoting the company. So again, if you want to be nosy, it is on my LinkedIn, but I do not promote the company. That's why. Okay. Just make sure that goes out.
That's a very good point for sure. And then here we are on the Align with Sarah YouTube channel. We have a ton of stuff for free up on the website. Most of the stuff that's up there for free is going to be a paid program in 2024. So please get it, please check it out, and please let us know any feedback about it so that we can create it to be the best product that and resource that it could possibly be. The newest thing is the 5 minutes to better you, and that is a program where we have a hidden page on the website, so you need to sign up to get access to the page. And every week we put up 3 videos, 5 minutes or less for self-care. So the videos are not 5 minutes because I'm a talker, but the idea that I'm talking about for self-care takes 5 minutes or less and is very low financial impact, but has a huge mental, physical, um, universal improvements. And it's been in my thought of getting my motivation where it needs to be for our winter months here in the Northeast, where we have not a lot of light and coldness, and the yin settles the in, and it feels very heavy for me. And then also just the pressure of the new year and all that comes with it, with my work commitments and uh, planning the future for the farm and everything with, what animals, what this, what that, it gets very overwhelming. So creating the best me that I can possibly be now that can build one 5 minutes better, for my next 5 minutes. I feel like that's my focus and I share my journey. So it can also be your focus. So all right, that's it for my whole spiel. And it was so great having some time here with Liz. I appreciate it so much.
Well, I think
Um,
I've got your tickle there.
oh no, oh, I sent it across the ocean. So we're all verklempt or whatever that funny thing is where we get emotional. All
Okay.
right, I'm gonna stop recording here. Let me see how to remind myself how to do that. And then I'm going to just talk for you for one more minute, Liz, and then we'll say goodbye. Okay.